Welcome to Parallel Perspectives, conversations with leaders who don't just think differently, they build differently. I'm Nathan Trail, your host and Chief Revenue Officer at NRI. Boy, do we have an incredible episode for you today as I'm speaking with David Totten, who's a family man, a lover of sports and bourbon, and someone with a backstory that cannot be matched. So if you're leading through change, hitting some resistance, or just trying to grow with intention, this one's probably for you. Let's get into it. Today's guest is David Totten, currently Area Vice President of Field Engineering and Strategy at Databricks, where he's shaping the processes and architecture behind one of the fastest growing AI companies in the world. Prior to Databricks, David spent nearly 2 decades at Microsoft, culminating as CTO, Chief Technology Officer for the Americas, guiding technical strategy across an entire continent. What's even more compelling than his credentials is his journey. From being a music major and living out of a shelter to building his way into the C-suite, we're here not just to talk about tech and scale, but to explore resilience, leadership, and the mindset that made it possible. David, welcome to Parallel Perspectives. We are thrilled to have you.
Thank you, Nathan. Really, really excited to be here.
Yeah, so are you in, where are you today? Seattle?
Yes, sir. It's
Cool.
Pacific Northwest.
Okay, cool. How's the weather there?
It's beautiful. It's always beautiful in Seattle. We tell people other things just to make sure they don't move in.
I was there a couple of weeks ago. The weather was fantastic. They said I got lucky. I spent a little bit on, is that Lake Washington?
Yes, sir.
Kind of bouncing around. So drove by or boated by Bill Gates' house. It was pretty fantastic. So
Yeah,
beautiful.
he owns a few properties over there. Yeah, there's some early Microsoft. There's some early Microsoft money on that side of the lake for sure. You betcha.
I can imagine. So
Yeah.
when we spoke last, something very surprising, like was not expecting, but you and I share something that's very unusual. And I can probably almost 99% guarantee you that there's not a lot of executives that share this similarity as what yourself, David, and myself, Nathan, have in common. And my guess is most folks at our company probably don't even know about it. But what I found very intriguing and kind of exciting to talk about a little bit is both of us spent a bit of time living in homeless shelters. And I can talk about my story in a little bit, but I'm just curious, how did that chapter of your life shape who you are today? And maybe tell us even how that even happened.
Yeah. First, I think it's phenomenal that it even came up with you and I. There's not a lot of, if you think about your shifting separation of work and personal and what are stories about you that help shape who you are and how you got there. I'll always carry the stories and how I was brought up and the gratitude I have to my parents and my family, for all the goodness that I had. But also a lot of the things that I faced and did on my own, for a variety of reasons. So the fact that it came up and we were able to have that conversation and it sparked, an alignment between you and I is pretty strange, but obviously very cool, and very happy to talk about it. And I just think from my perspective as a kid, there's a couple things that I learned, right? One, the people you hang around kind of dictate the path you choose. A lot of times when you're a kid, you're still formulating the front part of your brain on what decisions are good decisions and what decisions are bad decisions. And so the people you hang out with and the people that you aspire, to make happy, sort of shift and focus, what you're going to do at that point in time. Second part in time, boy, to be young and think you can take on the world. You can do whatever you want, whatever you can. I still want to carry some of that, edge and that desire and that confidence that I can figure anything out. And that's what led me to that stage of being basically like, I'm sort of done listening to somebody else's rules and I'm just going to go off on my own,
Yeah.
right? I can walk, I can jog, I can
Yeah.
make friends, I can play the guitar, I can figure anything out.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it was just about trying to do something on my own with my group of friends that had no structure, had no rules, and trying that out. And the final thing I'll say, about how I ended on that journey was thank God for homeless shelters. Thank
Yeah.
God for friendly people that are willing to help you and look out for you and take care of you. The streets are a very can be a very hard and non-forgiving place. And so having somebody who doesn't even know you but wants to protect you, look after you is pretty phenomenal, right? Which is why
Yeah.
when you told me your story about how like you spent time in shelters, but you did it voluntarily to be one of those people to actually help
Yeah.
knuckleheads like me, get back on the straight and path. I just found that just really encouraging and inspirational. So,
Yeah.
so it's again the journey I took. Was to try and make it on my own and figure out where my limits were to be
Yeah.
pushed,
Yeah.
for better or worse. And the fact that I made it out, is a testament, I think, to grit and focus, but more so to luck and finding kind souls along the path.
Yeah. And we used to call it, talking about how it can be tough. We used to call it the concrete jungle. I mean, you go out at nights in the streets of a city like Atlanta or Seattle, it is not a place you want to be. It is a jungle. It is the law of the jungle, and so I think it's more than just luck for you, especially. I think it shows a lot about your personality and how you dug your and clawed yourself back to where you are today. And that is a huge, huge testament. Maybe if you could think back, what are some stories, or maybe a story or a moment in time that sticks with you during that time when you were in the shelters?
Yeah, I remember several times thinking to myself during that process, like, I'm choosing this journey. And I remember, like, I'm choosing to do this, to play guitar, to be cold, to try and figure out. I remember, we had these two blankets, me and there were two buddies of mine that we were close by. We had these two blankets, and somebody stole the blankets.
Oh, wow.
And if you go out at night, and it's even in the summer, and you come back and it is freezing at night, and you have no blanket. And I distinctly remember basically being like, I chose this journey.
Oh, wow.
I chose not to protect my blanket. Like, that was like the greatest thing, you know what I
Exactly.
mean? That you could possibly get your hands on.
Your
And
perspective changes on value when you're in that state.
everything,
Yeah.
everything changes. And that moment of, really just trying to figure out, like, you chose this, and then what's of value to you, like you
Yeah.
just mentioned, like what matters to you, shifts tremendously, right? And again, I was very lucky and fortunate to have seen some really nasty bad things and experienced some really really horrific things, but I never felt like, I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
When you're with a good support system, and you're with your friends,
Yeah.
and you've got this grit, you do feel like you will bounce, and you will get
Yeah.
out, and you will get through, and you will do something. But I remember that distinct moment of losing the blanket and basically being like, can it get any worse?
Oh my gosh. And what city were you in
So
again? This is not like warm
Portland.
Atlanta.
I was in
Yeah,
Portland.
this is
Yeah,
Portland.
Portland. Yeah.
And you don't want to
Yeah.
be without a blanket in Portland living on the streets.
Hmm. It
Oh
was not
man,
ideal. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy. It reminds me of a story. I'll just quickly jump. When I was so my story is as you said, I was there voluntarily. When I graduated from college, I decided I wanted to spend um, most of my life, honestly, at the time was where my head was, just giving back to others and actually stripping it down to the rawest of raw human nature. And so the easiest way for me to do that at the time is basically I sold my little pickup truck and moved into a homeless shelter downtown Atlanta and literally lived there 24/7, cooked meals, ate dinner, played yard ball in the back. We had a basketball hoop. Um, One time I was shutting down the shelter, and this is one of the stories that has helped shape me, I think. Is um, There was a guy, and I remember his name. His name was George. So it was dead of winter. So dead of winter, Atlanta still can be cold. It's below freezing. It's 28 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely not Portland dead of winter, but cold for us. George comes in, and he's drunk, which we dealt with all the time. This is not a new scenario. Um, but we weren't turning people away because of how cold it was. But this guy was so obnoxious and violent. I had to tell him he couldn't come in because he was disturbed. There's 300 people we had to keep safe, women and children and other men, and it was just something that we couldn't deal with. So, anyways, long story short, after about an hour of him spitting in my face, calling me names, cussing me out, the guy's twice my size. I had luckily a lot of the volunteers that lived there to help us kind of lead the program, helped me get him out. Shut down the shelter, turn off the lights, this is maybe a couple hours later. I drive to Wendy's to pick up junior bacon cheeseburgers for the staff in our little truck. And as I'm going down, getting off the exit ramp for Wendy's, I see this guy George laid out in the grass, just flat out. And I'm like, oh my God, damn it! I can't leave this guy here. He's gonna freeze to death. So I go get the junior bacon cheeseburgers, drive back because there's no way I'm getting this guy in my truck by myself. And literally got a Jerome, who was one of my leaders. He and I picked this guy. This guy's like 6'4", probably 285. Put him in the back of the pickup truck, drove him back, tucked him into bed. The next morning, when he realized what happened, he broke down crying and basically was crying at my feet, saying, "No one's ever treated me like that before." And that was one of those pivotal moments in life where I was like, oh my God, the value of life is so different for um, everyone in different perspectives, and understanding how to drive forgiveness and grace to others, irregardless of how extreme it is super important. So one thing I've noticed talking to you, you've been wired to push the edges a lot. So, and this being a great example. So how do you take that wiring that you have back to a high growth and high pressure company?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think oftentimes of, hey, is that chip on my shoulder too much? Is my desire to push and try new things? When does it cross the line between like being a change agent versus being obnoxious?
Oh yeah,
um,
I get that all the time.
and and I've struggled with that. I've
Yeah.
gotten feedback for almost 30 years now about what I think makes sense and what I think we should do versus does that make other people uncomfortable or am I moving too fast?
Yeah.
And so it is something I have to constantly be sort of aware of, right? I think that there's some things, and again, it's not just about the thought process or about how to be aggressive with decision making. It's also about how you deliver it.
Hmm.
I oftentimes get the feedback that sometimes I'm dismissive or can be overbearing on certain aspects of that. So I have to really, really, really focus hard on making sure that we bring everybody to the table at the same time for the same scenarios.
Yeah.
And it is what we do in the corporate environment. Is just one of those things that we're lucky to be able to do what we do and get paid for it. I think we get to work with amazing people and solve really cool problems that we think will better the world forever. And I oftentimes have to just think about it's not life and death. It really isn't. You know what I mean? Like there is not a moment like you just mentioned, where somebody's going to be stranded and won't make it until tomorrow unless I take this
Yeah.
divisive action. And so I oftentimes have to just make sure that when you're in the environment that we're in, we make sure we bring everybody along. We make sure that we do take bets and we do want to push the envelope, which is one of the reasons why I came to Databricks,
Yeah.
which I'm sure we'll talk through. But Databricks pushes everything
Yeah.
all the time, and the innovation curve changes so much. It's really inspiring to be a part of that engine, but you have to bring others along.
Yeah.
You can't just sit in a
Yeah.
vacuum and say we're going to do this because I said so. We're going to go do it. You have to make sure that you're bringing everybody along. And it's one of the biggest leadership lessons I've ever had to deal with, which is
Yeah.
just remember to bring others along with you on that journey.
Yeah. I'm glad you said the part about balancing being a change agent. So driving transformational change into a large organization, but balancing that with empathy for the
Yeah,
employees and the partners, because in order for you to be successful, they have to be successful as well. And how do you position your timing and how you roll out that transformational change? You can't do it all at once, right? And
correct.
people get change fatigue, right?
Yeah,
And you lose, and you have negative attrition. There's some positive attrition. Sometimes the pressure that you put into like what you're doing at Databricks, the pressure pushes out the folks that are not going to drive success. And I've seen the same
yeah,
thing. But what you don't want to
yeah,
do is push out the good assets in the organization. So I'm glad you brought that up because
yeah,
that's also something that I've learned as a leader over the years is how to balance that.
yeah. And I think we take that for granted because we're not perfect at it.
Yeah.
There is no like magic formula for how do you throttle transformation.
Yeah.
Like there, you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
1,000 leadership books, but there's not one that so far has the perfect cookie cutter recipe.
Yeah.
Every company is different. Every industry within that technology transformation is different, and then how people respond is different.
Yeah.
I've grown to respect legacy and perspective on how a group or a company got to where it got to was
Hmm.
so much different over the past 10 years. Right? I
Yeah.
think the legacy of how you get there and the lessons that were learned, just like we talked about, like where I grew up and where you grew up, if somebody disrespected what made me who I am and
Yeah.
what gave me my edge and my desire to compete and to survive and to win, if somebody questioned that, I'd be offended too.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how do you make sure that you don't just come in and basically be like, oh, I've seen this movie before. You do this A, B, C, D, and E, and A, G, and then we all of a sudden make a lot of money and
Right.
customers love us. You have to make sure that we respect that legacy and that process that it took anybody to get to that stage
Hmm.
of them personally, and then how that collective experience of those individuals shapes a company's DNA. Um, it was that way at Microsoft when I was there. I was there in the middle of a leadership transition there, from our top down, and growing to a new generation of being in a growth mindset under Satya Nadella's leadership.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly experiencing that at Databricks just 3 years later, seeing how much the initial and the DNA of the company still rides through everything we do on a daily basis. And how do you make sure that you respect that while also pushing for change and transformation along the journey?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a tough balance. From our conversations, it seems like so far you've done a really nice job of balancing that. Obviously, Databricks is in a rapid scale growth pattern, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Um,
Yep.
so you've got a sign in your closet, I think, that says, "I'm the possessor of a grateful spirit." So I'm curious. I'm
Yeah.
curious. Why is that a mantra of yours, and how easy or hard is it to keep that grateful spirit mindset front and center when the pressure's on hard?
Yeah. It's not, let me start with the second part of the question first. It's not hard.
Okay.
Waking up every day and feeling grateful for the experiences you get to have that day, like that in itself is a godsend for me. And never taking for granted what's in front of me and the people around me that I get to spend time with
Hmm.
will never ever tire for me. Um, Now, the reason I put this is because I am lucky. I lost a lot of friends when I was young, a lot of friends, and I've had some really really bad memories. And I used to be a jerk and have
Yeah.
this gigantic nasty chip on my shoulder as a result. And you get nowhere. You automatically assume negative intent from everybody who's around you,
Hmm.
right? And so, gosh, 25 years ago, I read a book, and I just determined that I was going to go forward, and be positive and
Yeah.
bring energy and optimism into everything I do.
That's cool. That's
At
good.
times, I think so. At times, it's annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not like so Mr. Bubbly all the time, but I am the guy who's going to be like, we can think our way out of this. We can problem solve our way out of this. I am that person, right?
Yeah.
And I am the person who's always going to say, hey, this isn't going to break us. Whatever this one thing is, isn't going to break us. We will,
Hmm.
we will get past this. We'll make this decision. We'll take a bet. Maybe we're right. Maybe we're wrong. We'll go forward. And so I just think that construct of like, we're very lucky on who we are and the things that we get to do and the things in front of us just provides enough of an air cover for us to make mistakes, for us to be vulnerable, for us to not have a great day,
Yeah.
but still know that we're protected and that we should be happy and feel blessed to have the experiences that we had, right? We're learning something all the time. So that's why I do it. That's my mantra for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's annoying to some people, but I also think like what you just said, I don't really get too stressed.
Yeah.
And I don't sort of worry about things. And I've got a hand up mentality. Hey, we make mistakes. Throw
Yeah.
your hand up. My bad.
Yeah.
We got to move forward. We got to move forward now, right? Like, hey, I'm grateful that you gave me this feedback and there's an opportunity to be better. Let's move forward now. What do we do now moving forward? I don't really stew on anything in the past anymore.
Yeah. David, can you share a time when an actual situation, if you can remember one back whenever, either recent or in the past, when you had to actually reframe the challenge and how that completely changed your approach to the situation?
Oh, for sure. When I came to Databricks, the job, I mean, literally in my title is strategy and scale. Okay. Um, 2 months after I joined, our executive leadership team came through and was like, "Hey, we're in a really good position financially where we're growing, what our product innovation cycle looks like, but we're going to get super skinny. We're going to return back to our roots of, building this thing." Out of an academic lab, and we're going to get rid of all resources that are meant to drive scale.
Mhm.
Think about any sort of indirect overlay type of resources. We just thinned everything out. We put all the focus into product and engineering, and then putting people with customers, account executives and technical sellers. Let's get with customers and figure out what problems we're trying to solve. All the other scale assets, we're not going to invest in.
Mm.
Immediately, like, I was hired to do this job.
Yeah.
I know how to do this. I know how to build scalable, consistent, reliable programs, but you
Mhm.
actually have to invest in it. You actually have to have somebody to own the engine when you build it. And so immediately I had to sort of reframe, like, how can I be successful given this is my superpower? How do I be successful in a company like Databricks that's like, just, no, we're not going to do any of that stuff to drive scale. We're going to talk to more customers with more people,
Mhm.
and we're going to have more core engineers. And so immediately had tried to reframe, how do we make bets? How do we show that those bets have an input and a logical output, and we're going to deliver outcomes based on those bets? How do I prove that to you, founder group? Like, how do I prove that to a group of academics?
Yeah.
Um, Immediately builds a new set of skills and process for you to try and reframe. How can I continue to grow and drive transformation and build this scale like we know Databricks needs to get to, given the constraints, the real world constraints I have around me?
Yeah. Yeah. I love the belief that you have there around friction, frustration, and setbacks. Sometimes those are actually intentional because those tests, those intentional tests, not that setbacks are intentional, but those tests, that's what builds resilience, not just for, us as leaders, but also for an organization. And, you've heard the mantra is fail fast, right? And, working for a Japanese company, there's a Japanese
Oh,
proverb that we have, which is fall down 7 times and stand up 8, right? So it's all around that grit and resilience. And I think you've got a mantra that is a framework for growth that is get burnt and get better, right?
yeah, that's right. Yep. Yeah.
So
But think about how hard that is to like land with people. Like, nobody wants to show up to work and just have a door slammed in their face.
yeah,
Nobody wants to show up to work and have their idea be called dumb, stupid,
yeah,
not make progress on it. You know what I mean? Like, we
yeah,
convert all of our time. Think about our kids. Like, I have 3 boys, just a bunch of chuckleheads. And think about, like, no, it's okay that you got hurt, or it's okay that you lost that championship game because it's just building you stronger, right? In that moment, you just want to strangle that person
yep,
who says that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yep,
no, like, I really wanted to win that game, just like, I have for my team. No, this is a really good idea. How come Databricks won't invest in this? Like, this is crazy. What are we talking about? Like,
yeah,
and trying to make sure that you carry optimism, but also accountability for their journey, and and the fact that it is frustrating if you just get knocked down 7 times. If
yeah,
you have a good idea 7 times and you get turned away every time you go to, it's easy to go to a dark, pessimistic place, right? And so that's why it's fascinating to me, like human evolution in general. We should face conflict.
yeah,
We should get burnt.
yeah,
Because otherwise you don't know where that edge is,
yeah,
and again, like, through my entire life, I've experienced, I'm going to push it. I'm going to push it, and I'm going to probably say something I probably shouldn't. And I'm going to push an agenda that I probably shouldn't sometimes.
right,
I'm going to keep pushing it until we get to a stage where, um, we fail, because that's, at least then I know what the edge is, right? And now I can innovate up until that edge. I
yeah,
get that. I can push up until that edge, but at least now I know where that edge is. And then guess what? I'm going to keep working, and that edge will be pushed. You'll see,
yes,
you'll get stronger over time, and you'll push it further into the future. But that's a very hard, like, personal and professional approach to live by, because people want to show up and they want to feel supported. They want to feel like their projects matter. They want to feel like they're making progress, right?
yeah,
And so I spend at least the majority of my time sort of coaching other people on, have you found the edge yet? Then we're probably not working hard enough. We're
right,
probably not thinking or pushing enough. Um, and then talking people out of being everything here is broken. I want to go
yeah,
jump into a hole and cover my head with a
yeah,
tarp,
yeah,
mentality.
yeah. I really do love your analogy of finding the edge. Like that rings so true. One of my mentors at IBM, when I was running strategic sales, I was in major negotiations, $1 billion uh, contracts, right? And I was one of the leads, and then I ran that team in Asia Pac. But one of my mentors said, I was just going into a negotiation with a state CIO, and he said, "Did you find the borders of the negotiation? What's in the box and what's
Mm,
out of the box?" Right. So
mhm,
it's very much not just
mhm,
negotiations; it's also people.
mhm, mhm.
It's a sales organization or a field engineering organization, and finding the edge. If you're not continuously pushing, then you may never find it. And
Yeah.
there's an element of resilience because everybody has a different edge, I think, as a human, and that's the hard part is balancing that. But I want to ask you this. So my understanding, and this is another oddity about you, David, you 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 started as a music major in
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
college,
yeah. Yeah.
chasing a girl, right?
Mm.
And somehow ended up from a homeless shelter to a music major or whichever came first, somehow ended up a CTO for Microsoft. So how did that leap from music major to CTO at Microsoft happen?
Yeah, it's the path isn't so linear as you would
Okay.
say,
I
right?
didn't think so.
Um, yeah, no, I mean when I was a kid, I was real lucky. I had great parents. My dad was a military man who had instilled just a wee bit of discipline, probably too much so,
Yeah.
given the decisions and choices I made in high
Yeah.
school. And but I was smart. I was good at school, so I didn't have to study a bunch. I was a good test taker.
Hmm.
And then I played sports, so I was always able to like have this public persona of, hey, good athlete, smart kid, whatever. Um, and then when I got myself into trouble
Hmm.
and chased the wrong things, and so for me, going to college was an outlay, and I was able to play sports in college
Yeah.
um, and meet some really good friends. But like academically, I was like, whatever I've ever done in the past, I've been able to survive, and I'll pick a major and kind of figure that out. And I was like, I really like how music is composed, not like um, um, how to learn and play every single instrument, but just like how the melodies fill together is
Yeah.
like an ever changing, recipe for what could be. And so like that possibility of like putting notes together, to make an output that's unique and has never been done before, I was always really fascinated with.
Hmm.
And the simple fact is like, that's a pretty lonely space when you're like, in your dorm room or, in your house where you're just sitting there listening to music and writing stuff down that nobody cares about. So, um, I,
I am curious,
met
where
some
is there
people.
anywhere we can find your music on Spotify, or can you point us
You
to
can.
get out of here, really?
Yeah, you can't. You can't do it on Spotify per se, but I've written a lot of pieces
Oh,
that are readily accessible, and then there have been songs that I've been able to write or at least structure, and then
wow.
have been actually purchased by different groups. So that's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, truly. If I had a better face and a better voice, I might be a rock star, but no, instead. Anyway, the point is like while I was going through this journey, I met a girl and then she was like, oh, let's go apply for this internship and live with my parents and et cetera. And it didn't work out with her and I for a
Okay.
variety of reasons.
Okay.
But I got the internship and got to know this environment of like corporate America, and
Yeah.
I was like, this is fascinating to me. Everybody shows up to this building. We all park in the same parking lot. We all show up at the same time. Everybody's got these things called laptops. Like this is wild. And so I was working there in college. And then what happened is I was going back to go play sports. I had to go do summer training
Right.
and I worked for, the leader of McCall at the time. And, his name's on the company, McCall, Craig McCall. And he goes, yeah, no, why would you go back to college? You have a job. I'm paying you. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you go to college to get a job. I'm paying you,
Yeah.
do this job. And I was like, no, I kind of go back on my soccer team needs me.
Hmm.
And they were like, he was like, no, we're going to pay you. And so I worked from school
Hmm.
while I did this as well. Which was a phenomenal experience, again,
Hmm.
balancing priorities and always being like, I can take more on, I can take more on, I can take more on. That's just sort of who I was and still am. And so I did that and I was like, wait a second, now I'm a couple of years of experience. I can now do other jobs and you start figuring out what sorts of corporate America or in my case, product development you really care about. And it just led from one job into another. I still like miss the creative side of me. I don't
Yeah.
necessarily have enough time. I channel sort of my, what I would call my aspirational composing to activities or thought processes that I want my kids to have. It doesn't translate. Okay. Like it doesn't, the combination of thoughts that I want my kids to back and how they structure them doesn't work the same as when you're writing music and you're putting it down on a sheet.
Yeah.
Um, but, um, but, but that's sort of like growing in your career and staying out like, oh, I can be creative in this space as well about how do you solve problems? How do you approach people? How do you think through what we're trying to solve and what the real problem is still very creative for me.
Hmm.
And then just being very lucky and, again, working my tail off at different companies gets you to a stage where people believe in you. There's a problem big enough that you think you can
Yeah.
affect change in. And then you just maniacally drive outcomes, you
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
so that's sort of been my journey. And I miss the old days. I miss the old days of just tinkering with a guitar for sure.
Yeah.
I miss the moments of like, I don't know what I'm doing, on this project or whatever. Like I had no idea what I was going to do at a cellular company in telco, right? I had no concept of what that was going to look like.
Yeah.
Uh, and, you know, I think about that now of like, if you're a kid coming out of college, do you really know what you want to do? The answer is no. You
Mm.
don't have any idea. Like we force these kids in high schools to choose
Yeah.
majors in order to get accepted into
Oh my
college.
gosh.
You have no
I
idea.
changed my major probably 6 times. I started, funny enough, not music, but pre-med.
Yeah.
After my first semester, I failed chemistry and decided nobody wants me to doctor on them. I think I went to forestry next, then computer science. That was too boring. Then MIS because that was a hot topic. And then I was like, you know what? Business administration is good enough.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
And you'll figure it out.
yeah, I'll figure it
And
out.
and
Yeah.
you figure it out. And you got to think about that. At your very first job or maybe your second job, somebody took a bet on you.
Yeah.
And they didn't take a bet on you because you were the best business administrator on the
Yeah.
planet.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? Like, or because you're pitch perfect communications,
Yeah.
because you really know how to code or develop this
Yeah.
piece of software. No,
Yeah.
somebody took a bet on you because they're like, hey, is that guy coachable? Does he have a little grit to him? Does he look
Yeah.
like, is he a hard worker? Right? Does he have these broad aspirations? Right? Does he believe his value? Okay.
Yeah.
Equates to more than what he currently presents.
That's
Like,
right.
people take bets on personas, not
Yes.
on sort of those hard skills when you're early in your career. And again, like me, I'm sure that you were super lucky with somebody taking a bet on you early in your career and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, we'll polish you up a little bit.
Yeah.
We'll make you shine, and help coach you into the career that you've been
Well,
able to
yeah,
express, thus far."
exactly. And I think also luck, grit, and Google came out. So when people were saying words that I didn't know, man, I was hard on what the heck is a server? What is what Palo who?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Well, I got
yeah.
a great story. When I worked at Macaw, one of the benefits was you got a free cell phone.
Uh,
Imagine being like a college kid with a cell phone. Like you can do anything. The problem is, like I'm sure was experienced when the telephone itself was invented, the real value isn't the one person having a phone. Somebody else has to have a phone too. Okay.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're not calling anybody, right? You know what I mean? Like, so
Exactly.
I'm this college kid's walking around with a mobile. Nobody else has a cell phone. I
Yeah.
can talk to the people I work with, but none of my friends. And so I learned quickly. I was like, well, there's going to be some technology innovation that's
Yeah.
going to continue to sweep, and this might be ahead of our time to have cell phones at college campuses. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So you're in Queen Anne, is that right?
I am, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that we're based out of the Bay Area. Databricks is,
Oh,
founded
they're
by
Bay Area.
seven. Yeah,
Okay. Got it.
founded by seven brilliant folks, out of Cal Berkeley, technical labs, and we have an office here in Seattle. We have an
Okay.
office over in Bellevue, which is about 30 minutes away, and just growing like wildfire. So,
Hmm.
the company
That's
is continuing to grow.
Oh, I can see it. It's crazy and pretty amazing that you being in the right place at the right time with that AI differentiator that you guys have. I mean, that's why NRI chooses Databricks to be one of our strategic partners is the demand for that product is just blowing up. So you actually joined Databricks when they were around 600 million run rate
Mhm.
and with a
Mhm.
goal of 10 billion over 10 years. So when you started, where did you start when building for that kind of scale, going from half a billion to 10 billion in 10 years? Where do you
Well,
even start?
Databricks, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Databricks has the philosophy of like, hey, let's hire really really smart people, and they'll just figure out the problems to solve and how to
Yeah.
best solve it. And that works. Believe it or not, that does work. Like, hire really smart people that are get after it and want to go out and solve problems, and they'll figure that part out.
Yeah.
Well, as you grow in numbers, and then as you grow, like for us, when I came in, we had kind of like two main products. Now we have like seven legit workloads, right?
Yeah.
Like, that are enterprise grade, truly, amazing technical solutions. So, as you scale, you can't just say, let's hire smart people and put them with these accounts and figure it out. Like, you
Yeah.
have to build systems of repeatability. You have to build demos together. You have to build sandboxes environment. You have to build solution plays for people. You have to build a customer success engine. So, you know, building a little bit more structured process and handoffs and tighter swim lanes on what makes an individual successful at Databricks, that was sort of the opportunity in front of us, and it
Right.
still is. We're still evolving in that
Sure.
dialect, and we're still evolving on how we think about what is it that a technical seller does with an account that works.
Yeah.
And because customers and how they think about data and how they think about AI and how they think about their estate and the best ways to manage it, everybody's unique. So again, there is no recipe card. There is no like four simple ingredients and
Yeah.
voila. Like, a solution architect is amazing, and the customer adoption of Databricks is 10 out of 10. Every customer is unique and has different challenges. Some of them technical, some of them political. And
Yeah.
so trying to create repeatable frameworks, not necessarily like like the same recipe card is
Sure.
sort of what gets me up every morning. How
Yeah.
do we build best practices? And then how do we make sure that our people have the tools and the processes in front of them to help make sure that they're ultimately really, really successful with their customers, right?
Sure.
That's what we're trying to do.
So I know what Databricks is. Obviously,
Sure.
I'm one of your
Yeah,
strategic
yeah.
partners doing
Best partners. You're the best
best
partner. Yeah.
partners. I love
NRI is the
that.
best partner in the world. Yeah.
Doing service integration and but
Yep.
not all of our listeners know what Databricks is. So
Yeah.
from a partner community, from a customer community, and just from people who are not in technology at all.
Hmm. Hmm.
First off, what is Databricks, right? What do
Hmm.
you offer? What do you do in the world of technology, and how does that drive business solutions to business challenges? Number one, and then part two to my question is, why would and I know the answer to this, but I want to hear it from you. Why
Hmm.
would NRI or a customer choose Databricks over a competing product? So, kind of a two-part
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, great. I mean, the first, like, Databricks is the data and AI company. And what we mean is, like, all companies, big, small, all industries, they've got data. They've got from their customers, from their supply chain, from their partners, from their employees. And historically, that data has been sort of all over the place. And what Databricks invented, multiple patents ago, was a technology to take all that data and process it more efficiently and effectively and organize it in a way that anybody can access it in the same space. Databricks invented the term lakehouse, which
Hmm.
is where you can
Right.
drive, obviously storage and collection of data, but also analytics in the same environment. Why couldn't you do that in the same environment before? So, being the data platform company of everywhere, we help customers get their data into one place. And what you mentioned earlier, Nathan, is really important. The reason why Databricks is sort of set up for success is because we can help you get your data in one spot, and then we can apply AI and all of the technical innovation that's happening right now in real world, the next, industrial revolution that we're right in
Right.
the middle of. You can do it on your own data with your own rules
Yeah.
differently. The fact that we're multi-cloud, we're sort of an independent arbitrator. We serve up technologies across multiple vendors. So we don't have a dog in the fight. We just want you to have your data in one spot and then drive intelligence on top of your data. We call it data intelligence platform. We're the only company in the world that does that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a bunch of companies out there, the big ones, the hyperscalers are all amazing.
Yeah.
Like, Microsoft's incredible, Google, Amazon,
Okay.
Oracle, they're all incredible companies at what they do. They have a vested interest to drive people to using their technology, their LLM engines, their AI reasoning efforts, their databases. Like, there's a reason why they do that, is because it's their product and they think it's the best. Well, if you're a customer, you might have a different need for a different AI innovation, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Are you trying to reason over something? Are you trying to build a custom LLM? Are you trying to develop your own AI model? Are you trying to fine tune a model that was built somewhere else? And so the Databricks advantage is you can do all that, and you will help service whatever technology, or whatever cloud provider or whatever LLM engine you want. will help you do that more efficiently,
Yeah.
and without prejudice, greater than any other platform in the world. So that's what Databricks is. And the reason why people choose Databricks is because it allows that ultimate flexibility.
That's right.
You know, when I was at Microsoft, it was sort of like, hey, we'll work with you because we're a Microsoft shop. We'll work with you. We don't care if you're a Microsoft shop, an Amazon shop, Google. It doesn't matter. Like, you should have access to your data more efficiently and be able to reason over your own data in order to make better decisions and drive better outcomes that are specific to your customers.
Yeah.
And so being that independent arbitrator in the middle, like that, just independent, Switzerland, if you will, over a customer's platform environment, has served the company like pretty well. And so the reason why I think, to finish your question, like, why do people choose Databricks, particularly in the partner community or like SIs or ISVs, is because, it's the cleanest, most efficient process to get data and do stuff with your data
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
And so if you're an SI and you're like, hey, I've got ideas of how to add value to customers' data, how to develop AI solutions with customers and their data, like, you pick the easiest, most effective way to do that, that looks the furthest left to right,
Yeah.
in order to really drive innovation, because that's where you can apply your own IP, your own
Right.
innovation on top of it. And so Databricks is the preferred platform of many because of that, the
Yeah.
ease of use and the breadth of scope that you can do within the platform
When
itself.
you hit the market at just the right time. I know they've been around for a while. I think, what was the previous name? Spark. Spark.
Well, Spark was the technology
That
that
was the
that the founders
technology.
invented for
Okay.
sure.
So
Yep.
so
Yep.
then,
Now
similar
think
to.
think about that, Nathan. Sorry to interrupt. Think
Oh,
about
you're.
that. These guys are so brilliant. The founders, I have so much respect for. They created this technology, Spark, built it on open source
Yeah.
technology. How do you process data faster and more
Yeah.
efficiently than ever before? Like, that is the equivalent of 15 years ago of the
Yeah.
fountain of youth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's got data, explosion of data. We've got IoT here, and we've got data over here, and we've got databases over here, and data warehouses over here. We've got analytics, and we're trying to derive some machine learning models. These guys invented a technology, Spark, and then they said to themselves, you know what? We're not going to try and build like a company off of it. We're going to open source it. Okay. And they gave it to an open
Yeah.
source library. There was no concept of like, let's make a company and let's package this fountain of youth,
Yeah. It's
serum and
insane.
sell it to people. And then on the top of that, they were like, okay, now Spark's out there, but people still need help on how to use it and how do
Yeah.
we make it more usable for folks. And so, like, oh, we can start this thing. We can start a company and just see what sort of happens on it.
Yeah.
And that vision to basically be like, we have this technology and we believe in open source so much, we're going to leave it up to everybody else to build their own solutions on it. I asked my boss, who I have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for, what's sort of the biggest mistake that the Databricks founders feel like on
Yeah.
opening source it? And he was like, well, there's lots of technology companies that sprung up and were really, really well that probably never would have existed if we didn't open source some of those platform
Yeah.
pieces. I mean, we're talking about multi-billion-dollar companies, like thousands of them have sprouted up because they were able to access Spark in the open source market, and build their own IP around it. They don't regret one bit of that. That's what drives the ecosystem.
Yeah.
And again, back to like the principles of like, is it more important to make $100 billion and be $1 trillion company, or is it more important to like significantly disrupt like the status quo of technical innovation and market? And these founders, 10 times out of 10, will say, we want to disrupt. We want to
Yeah.
do things better, more efficiently, and cheaper
Yeah.
than anybody in the market has done before.
Yeah.
And having that as like your North Star is pretty freaking cool.
Yeah.
You know what I
That is pretty
mean?
cool.
So
Yeah, that's pretty
I,
fantastic. I think, and you mentioned the founders. This is not a public company. It's still founder led, founder owned.
yeah,
Does that create challenges of its own? Because you were brought in to be a change agent, right? And sometimes your vision or my vision of change might not all. We'll go implement this plan and then put it in front of the founders, and then all of a sudden they blow it up with a stick of dynamite, and you've got to either start over or pivot. Just curious, is that different in, coming from a company like Microsoft, where it's probably a bit more bureaucratic because it's publicly traded, it's multi-billion dollars, versus a company like Databricks, where it's super fast speed, go 120 miles per hour, but all of a sudden you hit a brick wall. How does that work in your experience so far?
yeah, yeah, lots of brick walls.
Yeah. That's why it's called
But
Databricks.
yeah, exactly. I've gotten a new appreciation for that though.
Yeah.
I kind of have this thing like people don't know what they don't know
Yeah.
until they experience it. And one of my favorite qualities about our founders, and particularly like my boss and who's a founder, like they want very clear inputs and outputs,
Yeah.
and they and prove to me that this works. Right. Sometimes companies sort of luck into investments because of where the market is or
Yeah.
where their partner groups is. Like I'll give a perfect example. Microsoft. You might find a lot of people who think that, 20 years ago, Microsoft was sort of like on the cutting edge of
Yeah.
technical innovation and hey, driving PCs into every home that's a big thing. Was it Microsoft who did that, or was it the strategic decision to invest in the channel?
Right.
And the channel is where you get your distribution and how you owned the enterprise. And if you're Microsoft, right? And so what I love about our founders is they don't take anything for granted.
Yeah.
They push and they challenge everything on a daily basis. And they're not going to rely on just somebody, even if it's each other. They're not going to rely on somebody just saying, well, we should do this because other companies do this.
Yeah.
No. Like, what's the input? What's the output? How do we measure it? What's the unforeseen,
Yeah.
circumstances that that we don't know about?
Yeah.
Like what's around the corners that we don't know about? So it has taught me a ton about positioning and thinking through problem solving and what are the consequences that we might not know about yet?
Right.
And how do I prove that this works?
Yeah.
How do I prove that what we're doing today doesn't work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and coming at it from that perspective is really fun.
Right.
I will just say the other second thing is sometimes in companies, you just have to trust that some of these founders, they think and see the world so fundamentally differently than you. There might be 1,000 ideas that come out that I'm like, why would we do that? Or
Yeah.
we should do it this way differently. Like in my head, I'm like, this is nut joke. I'm own 1,000 on that so far.
Yeah.
I like legitimately, like you see these things play out. Hey, why would we go into that product line? We have great partners there that
Yeah.
have technical solutions already in market that we're already tightly aligned with. We'll go out and build that innovation, and you see the feedback from the customers and the channel around it. I'm 0-1,000.
Yeah.
And it's not that they've never been wrong,
Right.
but there's always been a way to
Yeah.
find success in each of these decisions. Even if it's been like, hey, that didn't work, we're going to shutter it. How fast, like our discussion earlier, like get burnt fast so you can get better and move forward.
That's right.
And we do that here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very,
And
very,
I
very
think the
tightly.
reality is it's not really brick walls, we joke, but it is those checks and balances of, having those leaders to help you see something a little bit differently is important. And in your journey going from, music school or music major
Yeah.
to Microsoft to Databricks, is there someone that stands out in your career as a mentor who's really made a difference in your life and kind of shape and meld your career to where you are today? Is there someone
Yeah.
that stands out that, to the probably, you probably pick 10 of them, but we don't have time for that. So, but
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah, the biggest mentor in my career, no longer with us. His name's JP Peterson, the
Mm,
data daddy, we used to call
okay.
him. And early days, he was my boss at Microsoft, and he was the one who taught me about foundationally what's the problem we're trying to solve. He used to have a quote. He used to say, "I'll do any," and, to his team members. He would say this in one-on-ones when you go into his office and you talk to him, and he would say, I'll do anything for you to help make sure that you're successful,
Yeah.
except I won't do your job." So he never gave solutions. You know what I mean? Like think about like what your marriage counselor would tell
Yes.
you. Like you don't need to always give a solution.
Oh
You
my
can
gosh.
actually ask a question.
Oh my gosh.
And so
Yes.
JP taught me that early days, which was like he never one time told me, "Well, do it this way or
Yeah.
structure it this way or let me review your code and I'll make updates." Like no, he always asked abstract questions
Yeah.
about what are you trying to solve and why is that the most efficient way and what would you do that way and who do you need to get sign off on that from and
Sure.
what does like success in 3 months look like. You start piecing together that problem solving of how to approach a project or a
Yeah.
snippet of code, and all avenues open up to you. So I would say JP
That's awesome.
Peterson, the data daddy, was the one who sort of taught me the most about
That data daddy.
defining the data daddy.
I
Yeah,
like that.
defining what's worth solving, and then meticulously picking out different threads to try and solve it.
Interesting. That's good. It kind of, this, we don't have time for this debate, but it kind of raises the question on leading from the front versus leading from the back and what that balance is. How do you adapt your leadership styles to, if it's transformational change, then yes, there's a leadership from the front perspective to show what they don't know. If it's
Yeah. Yeah.
once that change is in place, then maybe there's a leadership from the back where it's enabling and empowering and those types of things. So I'd love to at some point in time debate that and have that conversation with you. So, but we're running out of time. So let's wrap up with some quick hitters, so people can get to know you beyond the bio. So I'm going to hit you with some quick questions with some quick answers. Starting with, what is your favorite sport to play versus watch?
Oh, I love, goodness gracious, I love golf, all
Mm-hmm.
aspects of golf. I think that one-on-one, just you play a hole, and then if it goes well, awesome. If it
Yeah,
doesn't, hey, you got another hole in front of you, go do it. So
yeah.
I love golf. I like watching golf as well, but I like to play more so than anything else. And then we watch a lot of soccer in my house.
Okay,
My boys
that's
are all
awesome.
three premier soccer players. So yeah,
Oh,
we
that's
do a lot
awesome.
of
I
soccer.
actually was last weekend saw Manchester United and Everton. They were playing in Atlanta, so I got to. So
Yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah. Nice little friendly there.
I've got the Man U scarf over
Yeah.
here already. So
I won't. I promise I won't hold that against you. You know, there's lots of
well,
people in the world who are United
yeah,
fans. So,
yeah, I know, I know. All right, next question. What's your walk-in theme song?
um, yeah, there's a song called "Sweetness."
Hmm. Oh, I heard of
You can
this
sort
one.
of, yeah, like a
Did you write it?
it's a I did not, but it's sort of like this buildup of "Are you listening?" With this great musical melody underneath it. So it's sort
Well,
of Jimmy Eat World Sweetness. Go check it out.
who? Jimmy
That's what
Eat?
sometimes when I
Did you say
wake up,
Jimmy
Jimmy
Eat
Eat World.
World? I haven't
Yeah,
heard
yeah,
that
yeah,
band name in
yeah, yeah.
forever. Oh my God,
Yeah. Go
that
listen
is
to it. That's what I walk. That's when I'm making breakfast. That's what I start the boys with
that is
every
such our
morning. So.
generation. That's awesome. I'm gonna go listen to it now. All
Yeah,
right, here's one that's not on the list. If they could create a cocktail in your
yeah,
honor, in your
yeah.
honor, what is the ingredients for the David Totten?
Oh, that's a fun one. I don't know. I like bourbon, so it'd probably be bourbon
Yeah,
rye based.
yeah. Which is in the back of your wall there, right? A bourbon. Is that a
Oh yeah,
bourbon barrel?
bourbon barrel. Yep, that's a bourbon
Yeah.
barrel top that
Well,
I got one time from a tournament. Yeah, it would be bourbon based. I think a lot of things about different cocktails for sure, but I don't have a. Is it sweet? Is it
yeah,
dry? Like I like them all.
yeah.
I have found the best cocktails are
Hmm.
ones that come in more than one quantity.
Okay,
And I mean that very significantly because like if you have like something in a cocktail shaker, you immediately find a friend to share it with.
that's right.
And I think that's the experience. You can drink a cocktail all day long, but if you've got somebody there to share it with you and have a conversation over, that's the
Right.
right way to do it. So I like cocktails that get served more than one serving at a time.
I like that.
You can share with a friend.
That sounds like a David Totten to me.
Yeah,
So,
Max.
well, all right, last one. If you could pick any event, could be sports, could be anything that you'd want an
Yeah,
all access pass to, what
yeah.
is it and who, and you can bring one person with you. Who is it going to be? One or two people?
Oh God, that's awful. Mine. I can't. Yeah, one or two people. It's a really hard one. Well, first off, it would be like a county fair. I find.
Get that.
I swear to goodness. Fairs are so
Oh
fascinating.
my gosh.
People watching, the food,
Fried
the
Oreos.
rides, the oh my goodness, all of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's like that's an entire ecosystem that they
Yeah.
decided to build. And they're like, we're gonna keep true to this. Elephant ears, like, oh my gosh. So I would do something like that. Like
Yeah. Yeah. That's
and then
hilarious.
if I could, I'd probably rotate the plus one to my kids.
Yeah, of
Um,
course.
because
I
that
can, I can
amusement
literally,
and that wonderment.
yeah,
Mhm.
I can literally smell funnel cakes right now. Like that's what I smell is
Yeah.
funnel cakes. And I'm hearing
Yeah.
Metallica playing in the background.
Easy living, man. That's easy living, you know?
Oh
So,
man, David,
and by the way, when I say that now, I'm different. I want VIP access to the front gate as
of
opposed to the
course,
parking lot walks. You
skip
know
the
what I mean?
lines.
Like, don't do that. That's
Got
part
to
of the
skip the
deal.
lines.
So,
Look,
yeah.
thanks a lot for sharing your journey, your perspective. It's a great conversation. You obviously are a stand-up guy and someone who prioritizes family, bourbon, golf, and all the things. But one last question for you. If you one key takeaway that you hope people carry away from this conversation, what is it?
Yeah, is that today we are blessed to be in the space we are to face the challenges that are in front of us. And if you go out with that mentality, and by the way, tomorrow will be different set of challenges and different opportunities to succeed. But if you just think about it, like they chose me. I'm chosen to be in this space today to solve this problem, to get yelled at, to make this mistake. They chose me for a reason. And if you just carry forward that mentality, your confidence, your ability to see problems through to the end will always work. It will
Yeah.
always work, right? And so just feeling very blessed and lucky to be in the situation where you are, even when things go sideways, there's a reason why you're the one who's facing it. That's what I want people to always walk through their day-to-day with.
Thanks, David. Honestly, after this conversation and the short few we've had, you truly are the possessor of a grateful spirit, and I
Yes, sir.
look forward to sharing a bourbon with you, and one that can be shared with friends. So next time
Yeah.
I'm in the Seattle area or you're in Atlanta, and so really appreciate you being on the show, David. Your story reminds us all that grit, gratitude, and clarity of purpose are what truly scale whatever your title is. So if you're listening and wrestling with your own friction, remember your wiring might not just define your path. It can drive you forward. So until next time, this is Parallel Perspectives, and keep building boldly.